Alright, what's going on, everybody? It's Falcon here again for another good old tier list video. Last time, we actually made 2 difficulty tier lists with Tekken and Soul Calibur, and I have decided today that I am going to make another video updating both my Tekken difficulty tier list and my Soul Calibur difficulty tier list. Now, I am going to do the Tekken one first, as y'all can see here, because I think that one got more attention than the Soul Calibur one for, because I guess I'm more known for Tekken as of right now. The next video we will be talking about the Soul Calibur difficulty tier list, which I have made actually a pretty decent amount of changes to that one because I've gained a lot more information compared to when I first made a difficulty tier list. I've learned a lot more since then. And both of these tier lists, as you see, are on Twitter. So if you want to check them out, go ahead. I appreciate it. If you want to check out the Soul Calibur one before it gets released, then it's on my Twitter. And I guess we can just get right into it, honestly. But before I do get into it, I do want to also announce that I have retired from playing Tekken. Now, this might be weird because, I'm still very, very young, and I still have a lot of potential, but I'm sorry, guys. I know, there's been a side of me that says, drop the game, and then there's a side of me that says, stay with the game. Honestly, I just said, you know what? Get away from the game. I've decided that I'm going to be a full-time Soul Calibur player or Soul Calibur streamer, but I do still want to get this video out because I still have a lot of knowledge with Tekken, but the game right now is, in my opinion, is a disaster. Until they do some serious improvements, and maybe if the community gets it together a little bit, there's a very low chance that I will be returning. Very low chance. As you all saw on Twitter, I did tell everyone on Twitter, I deleted Tekken off of my PS4. And I did. I did delete the game. Now, I could reinstall it whenever I want, so it's completely gone, but yeah, me and Tekken right now aren't doing too hot. But anyway, that out of the way, let's get started. So, of course, y'all know my categories: very hard, hard, average, easy, scrub mode. Y'all know what I mean by these categories, so I'm not going to bother explaining them. And we're just going to get right into it. Now, the very hard tier, I think, has been untouched compared to how I made it last time. I think everyone here is the same. The Mishimas, Akuma, Brian, Steve, Lee, Armor King. I still think all these characters, even now, are very difficult. The Heihachi, Kazuya, Jin, Devil Jin, they're all, Jin, but they're all Mishimas, and all the Mishimas are hard. You could argue Devil Jin being in hard. I think he's the easiest Mishima to use out of the 4, because you don't have to think too much with him, honestly, and you do have very, very strong tools, but there is some execution, like with Heihachi, super high and demanding in execution. His wall standing punishment, or just his standing punishment in general, needs execution with the electric. Not having any really good low pokes is a big, big, big problem. You need to have super good fundamentals and super ridiculous high execution to play Heihachi well. Kazuya, same thing, super, super high in execution. You need to have very good fundamentals because he doesn't have a 13 frame down 4-1. That is a big problem. And he has some glaring weaknesses like being stepped to the left, but they've been buffing a lot of that, so that's why it's easier to deal with it. But he's still a very, 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 very difficult character, especially, if he's being pressured. He doesn't have much panic moves outside of down 4-2 and dick jab, but both of those, they're risky. Down 4-2 is -12. Dick jab can be low parried, sidestepped, low crushed. There's ways to beat his panic moves. Of course, Kazuya is still a very hard character. And Jin, still very hard. He has been getting nerfed, so he's becoming harder to use. So that's one thing to take in consideration. I think he's harder than he was back in Season 3 and Season 2 for sure. But and he's super strong. He's still super, super good. But you just need to use a lot of tools. You need to know what tool to use at the right time. And you still need very high execution to play Jin. Still a very hard character. Devil Jin is also very high demanding in execution. But other than that, he's not as hard as Jin, in my opinion. I think he is a little bit more brain dead. So again, I could see him going in hard. But since he's a Mishima, and all Mishimas I do consider very hard, I did move him up. But you can argue him being in hard. You can argue that. Akuma, of course, super difficult. They did make him easier. They did make some of his combos easier. So again, another character where you could put him in hard because of that alone. But if you still want to do the high damage superstar combos, very, very hard to do. Super high demanding in execution. Basically, all these characters really are high demanding in execution. Brian, same thing. Super high execution requirements. Also need to have very good fundamentals. He's very different from your typical Tekken character. Doesn't have that amazing 13 frame down for one. Doesn't have a hop kick, big problem. Doesn't have an easy mode launcher from standing. Even though Jet Upper is really good, again, it's forward back too. There's a little bit of execution that goes into that. And the taunt, obviously, super, super difficult. And if you want to get to the highest level with Brian, you have to taunt. At least do taunt back 4. Taunt back 4 is tough. Taunt Jet Upper, you don't really need, but if you can do it, holy shit. That's probably one of the best tech catches in the game, probably. And yeah, he can, sometimes he can be a little bit clunky. Just because he doesn't have these super basic tools. Very high demanding execution. But still a very, very, very powerful character. Steve also, ridiculously high in execution. Also need good fundamentals. You need to know a lot of moves. You need to know the stances. You need to know what moves he has, what moves you can use. When to use back 1. Can you do the down 4-2 pickup? That's almost ridiculously fucking hard. If you can do that, then you're a superstar. He is a little lacking when it comes to block punishment, which is also a solid problem. Whiff punishment outside of Sonic Fang isn't the best. And just not an easy character to play. But again, super ridiculously strong. Gotta take that into consideration. Oh shit. And next we have Lee. Lee is also another character, very high demanding execution, very solid character. High execution barriers. They've made him easier in Season 3, but I still think he's ridiculously hard. And, you need to know when to place the back 4s, the down 3s. Can you do the acid rain punish 1-3-3-3? That's very hard to do. His combos are overall relatively hard if you don't practice them. And, overall, he's tricky. He is a tricky character to play. And Armor King. Armor King, some people could argue, isn't hard. I do think Armor King is harder than King. Also need very good execution. You need execution to do the dark upper and the lariat for whiff punishes. And also he just doesn't have those super fucking amazing tools that other characters somewhat have. Again, he doesn't have very good poking. He has good pokes, but they're just not scary. So you need to have good fundamentals to know what you should do. His throws are very good though, of course, but I think King's throws are better. Overall, and just another character, kind of like with most of these characters, you need the fundamentals. You need fundamentals with Armor King. If you don't have good fundamentals or execution, you're not going forward with this character at all. Honestly. Oh shit! Why did I do that? I was just seeing if it was still recording. But yeah, Armor King, solid character, but even with the buffs he got, but he's still very difficult. And now we're gonna get to the hard category. So first up, we got Hwoarang. Hwoarang, this is an interesting pick. This is an interesting choice because I know there was somebody on Twitter, I'm not going to say their name, but he thinks that Hwoarang should be easy tier. I think you know who I'm talking about if you saw my Twitter. But I could see some people saying that because he can be pretty fucking brain dead. His pressure is ridiculous. He's got good mix-ups. He has some stupid panic moves. Good moves in general, good buttons. He's got panic moves, pressure, throws. He's overall a very, 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 very good character. However, there is some execution that does go into playing Hwoarang. You can't really just mash buttons with him. You kind of can, but you need execution to play Hwoarang. And you need to know what move to use, because again, he has so many stances. And a lot of the good moves are in stances. You have to know what stance you're in, what moves you have access to in that stance. With evolving with execution, I do consider him not an easy character to play. I do consider him harder than average. I've always considered him this, even in my old tier list. But since he has a lot of super good tools and he can be kind of brain dead, that's why I decided not to put him in very hard. I don't consider him very hard, but I think he is definitely hard. For sure. Next we have Lol. This is another very interesting pick. I think this is another character that people could say is easy or average. The reason why I put him, almost everything with the character is very easy. However, the only reason why he's in hard is because of the DSS. The DSS alone is really the reason why I put him in the hard category, because DSS is hard. It's not easy to do. It does take practice, and it does take good execution to do. But if you can do it, holy shit, the assist pressure becomes super ridiculously good, especially the wall standing 4 into a DSS. That's just crazy. And 4-3, you know, he's got good tools. And when people know the matchup, and if you're playing without DSS, most laws will crumble. So, you know, I do consider law to not be easy, really, because of DSS. Now, if Law didn't have DSS, I would put him in probably average or easy if he didn't have DSS. But because of it, that's why he's in hard category. Now, again, I don't consider him very hard, because outside DSS, he's a very, very relatively simple character. Nina. Nina is also pretty complicated. Has a lot of strings and moves that you need to know about. Also, pretty high in demanding in execution. She's not the best character in my opinion. She has relatively, if you know the matchup, she has relatively weak tools in general. And I beat up most Nina players. I don't think she's easy to play. If people know the strings, and you need some of her, you need some execution. And her range is kind of ass, so you know how you're gonna get in with Nina. But the reason why I didn't put her in very hard is because, I mean, if the player doesn't know the strings and the bullshit that she can have, she becomes a very, very good online character. I think she is very good online. But when people know the matchup, especially when it's offline, she's not easy. Not easy, to say the least. Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu is another character where I could see some people putting her in easy or average because of her bullshit flowcharts that people do. She got a lot of bullshit crushing moves and, you know, a bunch of bullshit mix-ups in general. Now, she doesn't take much execution, I don't think. I don't think she takes much execution now. But you do have to be very creative, and you do need to know somewhat what you're doing to play Xiaoyu well. If you're just doing flowcharts that people, you know, can counter, I don't think she's that good. But once you're a very creative Xiaoyu, that is when this character becomes very, very obnoxious to fight, and very, very interesting to fight, and it's actually very fun to use. I think you have to be a very creative player, and you need to know the stances. You do need to know some things to play a successful Xiaoyu. Which is why I decided to put her in hard. And when people know the matchup, it's harder to use her. But if they don't, yeah, just do whatever you want and beat up your opponent. Yoshi. Yoshi, kind of another character like Xiaoyu, where you have to be very creative. He's a very gimmicky, flowcharty based kind of character. He doesn't have very good fundamental tools, but he's not known for good fundamental tools. That's not what Yoshi's known for. If Yoshi had good fundamentals and pokes, then he would be easily broken. He'd be broken. But it's good that, you know, they balance him out. But he's a very, again, flowchart based character. He has a lot of weird tools and mix-ups and stances and unblockable tech catches and shit like that you would want to know if you want to play a successful Yoshi. Another character where, again, if you're trying to play fundamental with Yoshi, like pick another character. Like Yoshi, you're gonna fall apart with Yoshi. But if you're a very creative player like Xiaoyu, you could do some very nasty stuff with him and very nasty flowcharts. So right because of that, I do consider him harder than average, but he doesn't take much execution. He really reminds me of Xiaoyu in this department. Like, there's almost no execution, maybe outside of CD2, getting that consistently. I guess that's the only thing execution-based, and maybe getting CD1, but that's about it. Other than that, there isn't really much execution that goes into the character, which is why I did not put him in very hard. If he had some execution, I probably would put him up in very hard, along with creativity. King. King is also, I think, is easier than Armor King. He's a very strong character, but again, he's complicated. He has some tools that are a little unfamiliar, like down for 1 being 14 frames. It's overall, he does still take some execution. I don't think he takes as much execution as Armor King does. His whip punishment is not as good as Armor King's, in my opinion, even though it's still decent. And another character where you just have to know some stuff. You have to know the flowcharts, and you have to know the moves specifically and throws to play King. And also, he has a lot of unblockable stuff and gimmicks, kind of like Yoshi with these tech traps with unblockables, and he has some of the best unblockables in the game, in my opinion. And if you want to, again, do really successful with King, you're gonna have to learn some of these gimmicks that he does have, which again doesn't make him easy. And if you're just mashing buttons, doing whatever the fuck you want, again, not the best character in the world. So that's why, again, I do consider him to be harder than average. Alright. Next up we have Eddie. Another character like Xiaoyu and Yoshi, where someone could probably, and Nina, some people might put Eddie in easy or average or even scrub mode just because of how obnoxious he can be to fight. He is one of the most obnoxious characters in the game to fight and lab. He is pretty obnoxious. Again, has a lot of flowcharts and gimmicks and mix-ups they have to know. And if you don't know this matchup, Eddie crumbles. Eddie destroys you. I cannot speak. But once you know this matchup, I don't think Eddie is a super, super strong character. He's not I don't consider, listen, I do consider Eddie to be the worst character in the game, but I don't consider anyone in Tekken to be bad. Every character is usable in this game. If a character was absolutely not competitive whatsoever, then I would consider them bad. Eddie is usable even at pro level. It's not easy, absolutely. Again, another character where you have to be super creative and you need to find more flowcharts than the generic stuff. Because almost everything Eddie does is such a risk. He be taking a lot of risks. And if you're guessing right on the mix-ups, Eddie dies. But if you're being very creative and being unorthodox, Eddie definitely can work. And he's got some pretty decent pokes. His backdash is great. I mean, it's one of the best in the game, even though his sidestep is probably the worst. I guess, and compensate. But again, against people who know the matchup, Eddie's he's not an easy character to use. For sure. But yeah, when people don't know this matchup, yeah, you just, again, mash buttons and you'll basically beat everyone. Eliza. Oh boy, Eliza. This was a character I originally had in easy. Some people might still put her there. But I have decided to move her up 2 tiers because she is obnoxious. I hate this character. She is so obnoxious. She's the most gimmicky 2D character in the game, obviously. That's how she's designed. Her dive kicks are obnoxious. She has so much gimmick, weird shit that almost nobody knows. Like, no one knows how to fight fucking Eliza. Maybe except a few people, but like, when are you going to find those people? Never. And she can just dominate. Dominate. Now, there is some execution. There is some execution that does going into, like, let's say, doing her dive kicks and shit like that. Does take some execution. And you do need to know some of these gimmicks, which, isn't easy. And you need to know when to place them when people do know this matchup. Because when people do know this matchup, it's not easy playing Eliza. And her poking, if you want to poke with her, you might as well play Geese. Like, her poking and frames are not good. If you just want to poke with Eliza, again, like with Yoshi, pick another character. Like, if you want 2D, though, you might as well pick Geese. Or even Akuma, honestly, has better pokes. But yeah, I don't consider Eliza to be as easy as I thought she was. But I still hate her. I still do not think she's very hard. But I will consider her harder than average, if we're being realistic. Even though I hate her. Geese is another character who, has really good fundamentals. I think Geese, in my opinion, is the easiest 2D character to play, in my opinion. Very strong pokes, even with the nerfs. But you need to know the max mode stuff. You need to know what moves he can use, what moves he can cancel. There's a little bit of execution that goes into Geese. Geese is not... I think he is the easiest 2D character to use, but he's still not easy. And there are people that struggle with this matchup. But even if they know the matchup, he's still a good character, in my opinion. Still very good. But I do consider Geese to be a little bit harder than average. Lei, another character, kind of like, Nina, Xiaoyu, Yoshi, Eddie. Another character where, again, just kills people in lower ranks. You can destroy almost anybody online. No one knows this matchup either. Ridiculous gimmicks. He can lay on the floor. Razor Rush is stupid. He's got a lot of bullshit tools. Even at pro level play, can be pretty obnoxious. But another character where you have to be very creative. You need to know the stances and, what he has. His pokes aren't very good. Again, his pokes are weak, which makes sense because he's a gimmick character. He's not known for pokes. But another character where you just have to be creative. There isn't much execution in Lei. But again, another character where, like Xiaoyu and Yoshi, you have to find flowcharts and find stuff that, works at the higher levels of play. Which is not easy. Julia. I think Julia is not easy. Very, very, very strong character, though. Like, she's got very good mix-ups. Very solid fundamentals. Her combos are very, very good. I think overall Julia is a very good character, but there is some execution in her combos. Like doing the 4-4-1s over and over. down forward 1 into shit like that. It's not easy to do. There is a little bit of execution that does go into playing Julia, and if you want that forward forward 1, which is going to be her main mid poke, you have to do forward forward every time, which, might be hard to get used to. So that's why I do consider her slightly harder than average, but still a phenomenal character. Excuse me. And finally, Zafina. Zafina, just like the other gimmick characters, has a lot of bullshit, obnoxious shit. I could see her going down to average because she has very solid fundamental tools. Actually solid. I mean, they're not amazing, but there's actually better than Lei and Yoshi. Her movement is insanely good. It's the best in the game, really, right now, because they nerfed Fakurams. And she got the obnoxious stance bullshit. And she doesn't really take much execution. But again, you need to be creative against people who know this matchup. But when they don't know the matchup, again, mash buttons and you win. If you do know the matchup, it's harder to play her, but she's still, even if they know the matchup, you still have decent fundamental tools that you can use. And I do think overall, and when combined with her movement, it's very, very good. So I could see her going down to average, but as of right now, because she has the gimmicks that you need to know, I decided to put her up in hard. But is she very hard? No, not very hard at all. Sorry guys, I don't have any water near me. My throat's clogged up. Now we're in the average tier. First we got Dragunov. Dragunov has been getting a lot of pretty crazy nerfs. But if we're being realistic here, I don't consider Dragunov to be a super hard character. The only thing I consider hard with him is instant while running 2, which, does take a little bit of execution. And the forward 3 cancels, which are, again, not terribly difficult, but, they're noticeable. But other than those 2 things, I don't consider Dragunov to be a very hard character, in my opinion. You could put him in hard because of the while running 2, and his mids, the hitboxes on his mids are the worst in the game, and that can be very frustrating. But in reality, if we're looking at the whole character, I'm not going to say he's a hard character. I would say he's average. Lily, another character who I consider average. There is a little bit of execution with some of the combos. You need to know some of the fundamental tools that she has because she is a relatively linear character. You need to know how to stop the sidestepping, even though her movement herself is very good. You need to know when to place her movement because her movement is good. But other than those things, again, I don't consider her a super ridiculously hard character. She's not very strong though. I mean, she's not bad, but she's not amazing by any means. Feng Wei kind of reminds me of Jin. In that he has a lot of moves, a lot of great moves, a lot of good moves, but not a lot of super super great moves. Maybe with Jin outside of maybe forward 4 standing 4, but Jin Feng is basically an easier Jin, where you need to use a lot of tools with him. You can't just use a couple of moves with Feng Wei. You need to use the whole toolkit. But he doesn't take as much execution as, let's say, Jin does. So that's why I do consider Feng Wei to be average. He doesn't have much execution, but you need to know how to use a lot of tools. Leo. This is a character I don't know too much about. I know she does take. You need to know some of the stuff with her, like with the stances, and when to play some of her solid moves, because her back 1 combo was removed, so you have to use more of her toolkit. You need to use a decent amount of moves with her. She also can be very linear, so you have to know how to counter that. She doesn't take that much execution, as far as I know. I don't think she does, unless I'm forgetting something, but again, I consider her average. Kazumi, some people might put in easy, because she is overall pretty basic. She's a very fundamental character though. That's kind of the reason why I put her in average. You do need to have very, very, very strong fundamentals to play her well, but if you have very good fundamentals, you can get carried very far with this character. But if not, I don't think this is a great character to play. I think there's other characters that play better if you don't have those fundamentals. But she's not hard by any means, absolutely not hard. But I could argue putting her in easy. I could see her being an easy. But you do need very good fundamentals to be really successful with her, which is why I moved her up. Master Raven, another character where she's got some bullshit gimmicks. I hate fighting this character. She doesn't really take that much execution. There's some execution things, but not that much. You need to know some of the stances and back turn stuff she has, but other than that, she's not that difficult in my opinion. You could put her in hard, but I don't think she's that level. And she can beat up most players, because most players don't know this matchup. Okay, sure. Gunryu. Gunryu is another character where I could see people putting him in easy or even scrub mode because he's a very, very good fundamental character. He's got good frames and pokes. And he can basically dominate people that don't know this matchup. Very few people know this matchup. He has some bullshit tech traps with his unblockable from stance, which is very good. I use it all the time. And if it doesn't work, I can cancel it. So it's really dumb. But the reason why I did put him in average is because, again, he does have some execution in the combos. If you want some of his really high damage combos, there is some execution into it. And he also has range issues. So, like, once the people are keeping you away, it is relatively hard to, get Gunryu in. Again, he has these range issues. Holy fucking shit, my throat. Guys, I'm sorry. But, yeah, he has range issues, but once he gets in, that's where he really, really shines. But getting in is not easy, and he does take some execution with some of the combos. Which is why I pushed him in average, but he's not hard. Kuni, Kuni, another character that I don't 100% know. She has some gimmicks that people won't know. She has some pretty decent fundamentals. Her her movement is pretty solid. And I don't see her, like, ridiculously hard. Again, there isn't much execution into playing her. I don't see her really with any execution, honestly. There's one main stance you have to know. Or I think two. It's not too much stuff going on. But she has some things you need to know. But I don't consider her hard. I think I consider her average. But this is a character where I could see myself changing. Because, again, I don't know too much about her. So if I miss something with her, then let me know. I know she has crappy lows. Her lows aren't good. I know that for a fact, and she can be really linear. But so there's things you have to know. You have to know some things to play Kuni. And now we're done with the average tier. So now we are in easy characters. I think that are easy, of course. Lars. Lars is a character where he's been getting some nice buffs. I still don't consider him a super amazing character, but he's pretty easy to pick up. Like, he has not much execution. If you want to play well with him, like in higher levels, it's going to be harder, which is I can push him up, but he's relatively easy to pick up and play. Like, and that's how he's designed. He's designed to be easy to pick up and play. He doesn't have much execution or fundamental things going on. Jack. Jack is a very fundamental character, but overall pretty easy. No execution. His fundamental tools are very good, but he is he's not super amazing right now because everyone's getting buffed while he's not really getting buffed. He's very fundamental, so another character where you do need very, very good fundamentals to play him, and his movement sucks. His backdash is decent, but his sidestep sucks, so, take that into consideration. So that's why I could see myself maybe moving him back up to average, but other than that, like, he's not hard. Gigas. Gigas I originally had in hard. And honestly, I do still think Gigas is hard to play at higher levels of play because he has no panic moves. His movement is god-awful. It's the worst in the game. His backdash is terrible. He's relatively slow to get going, and he is relatively linear. But another character where he is easy to pick up and play, he is very basic. Like, he has 1-2, down 2, down back 2. He doesn't have... You don't have to use too many moves with him to do well. And there's no execution, basically. But if you want to play successfully with Gigas, again, you need fundamentals. You need good fundamentals to play him well at higher levels of play. Which is why I think he is harder. But overall, he's easy to pick up and play. And no one knows the matchup, so you can just get away with murder with him. Because everyone used to think he sucks. But now, I think people now think he's solid. Which I like to see. Shaheen, another character like Jack. Very fundamental character. Not much execution outside of the slide. Other than that, almost no execution. Again, you need to have some fundamentals to play him. If you have good fundamentals, great character. But I don't think he's as hard as, like, maybe, let's say, Kazumi. Because he does have, have that full crouch mix-up, while Kazumi doesn't really have that. So, yeah, Sheen is relatively, and also easy to pick up. Josie, another character where... relatively easy to pick up, almost no execution, has a lot of bullshit strings and mix-ups that can throw some people off. Like I said, not much execution. She has some fundamental things, like her down 4-1 is very slow. She doesn't have a super good, like, down 13 frame down 4-1. So keep that in mind, but other than that, not very hard in my opinion. Miguel, also, not really hard, not much execution. He has very strong fundamental tools. Like, Miguel is really, really good right now. Very good. He only has one stance you need to know, which is Savage, which is not that hard. It's a very good stance. No execution. Good fundamentals. Yeah, easy to pick up. Nothing very hard with him. Noctis, I was going to put in scrub mode. But the reason why I put him up a tier, like, he has, again, no execution. Super long range attacks. He has a good mix-up that almost is unseeable online. And he's got some pretty easy buttons. But the big problem with him, the reason why I put him in easy, it says scrub mode, is he doesn't have a dick jab. And he can crumble pretty bad when people are pressing buttons in his face, because he doesn't have very good panic moves since he doesn't have a dick jab. Which is a pretty big weakness. That's a pretty big problem. Like, at least with Yoshi, even though he doesn't have a dick jab, at least he has things that he can get at, like with Flash or the spin around or other stuff like that. Noctis doesn't have stuff like that, so it makes it even harder for a character like Noctis than a character with, like, Yoshi. So I think that is his glaring problem and why I pushed him up because of that. But other than that, this character's piss easy. Piss fucking easy. Marduk. This character's fucking cancer, I'll say it. This character's bullshit. But, like, he doesn't take much execution. His damage is ridiculous. His mix-ups and Oki and throws are dumb as shit. He's overall a super dumb character. So you might be thinking, like, why did I put him in, easy instead of scrub mode? Well, one, he does have some execution with the VTS cancels if you want to get into that. You don't have to use that stuff, but it's there if you want to use it, which, you know, can hold him back a little bit. But the big reason why I pushed him up a tier is because he doesn't have very good pokes in close. It's very easy to pressure Marduk. He has almost no panic moves. His moves overall are pretty sluggish to get going and don't give very good frames. And if they do give good frames, they're very slow. His fast mids, like back 4 or down back 2, are very minus on block. So, you know, you have to take that also into consideration. So, because of that, and he doesn't have a 13 frame down 4-1, which is another huge problem. And his wall staying punishment is also terrible. Is really bad as well. He got up 4-1 too, but other than that, his wall staying punishment isn't very good. So, if you really take advantage of his weaknesses, Marduk can struggle. But other than that, this character's retarded. So, yeah, that's why I decided to push him up a little bit. And Negan. Negan, solid character, has good rushdown tools, has some moves. You need to only know one stance. Easy to pick up. Not much people know the matchup. No execution. Like, zero execution with this character. He's easy. He's easy. But I wouldn't quite consider him scrub mode. And now, speaking of scrub mode, we're at the scrub mode characters. Are you still going? Yes, you are. Thank you. Because last time I recorded and it stopped recording for some reason. But scrub mode, let's begin. Alyssa. Fuck this character. No execution. Super strong pokes. I mean, she basically has almost anything that you would want. Great punishment. Good whiff punishment. She can get in on you so easily. She can, again, get good pokes, good frames, no execution. Her chainsaws are almost broken. I hate them so much. I mean, they're not broken, but y'all know what I mean. Yeah, fuck Alyssa. Paul. Last time I put Paul in average, and the reason why I put Paul in average is because I felt like he had some execution with the core circle forward and back inputs, which he still does have. You need some execution to do that, but other than that, this character is bullshit easy. Other than that, like, you don't have to think to play Paul. Other than that, he has no execution. You don't need fundamentals with him, honestly. Okay, maybe you need some, because he doesn't have a 13 frame down for 1. His poking isn't great, but again, he's not really known for that. If you can get the core circle forward and back inputs, this character is piss easy. Ridiculously dumb damage. When he's in rage and he launches you, you're dead. If you whiff, you're dead. He has amazing panic moves. Yeah, this character's dumb. Dumbass character. Bob literally is basically the new Leroy and Fakram. He literally has everything and takes no skill to use. Why did they give him a 15 frame launcher from standing? Basically a safe hop kick, and they gave him his Tekken 6 CD1 back. Don't know why they did that. They made him a complete character now. He literally has everything. Literally everything you'd want in a character. and no execution. Yeah, scrub mode. Asuka, super dumb panic moves. Fuck this character. This character takes no brains to use. Again, no execution. Some of the best panic moves in the game. Her offense is not the best, I'll say that, but again, not really known for that. She's an extremely defensive character. Her defensive stuff is really, really good. And again, no execution. Asuka is stupid. Katarina, just mash 4-4-4-4-4 all day. Again, literally zero execution. Super long range chunky lows that hit from across the stage. She has a good down 4-1. I mean, she's not a great character, I'll say that. She's not a great character. She is lower tier, but she is so easy to pick up and play, and she'll destroy every single low rank in the world. Literally. Now, in higher levels of play, she can struggle a little bit, sure, but like, I mean, come on. We're not just talking about pro level play here. And again, she's so consistent. And her rage drive on the wall? Oh, man. That's great. That's completely fair damage right there. Yeah, this character has every scrubby thing you would want, honestly. Claudio also, this character takes no work, in my opinion. No execution. Don't have to use too many moves with him. You only need to use a couple of moves. Again, very little execution. Starburst is ridiculously strong. Down 2-2 is not amazing, even though since it's not a natural combo, but I mean, what's hard with Claudio? Someone please tell me. I mean, no execution, and you don't need to use that many moves. I mean, he needs to use more moves right now than he did back in Season 1, but still not by much. Lucky Chloe, Cali roll all day, no execution, ridiculous damage. Has some decent pokes. She has, again, when people know the matchup, she can struggle a little bit, but, you know, still a very, very decent character, and dumb. Again, another character where I don't know why she's in the game. They need to get rid of her in Tekken 8. No reason why she's here. The Bears, just gimmick bullshit city all day. No execution, basically. They have a decent fundamental move in 2-1. That's a good move. They have some fundamental things. They don't have a 13 frame down 4-1, which is a problem. And, you know, the fundamental tools aren't the best, but again, they're not known for that, people. And they don't have too many crazy gimmick stances, like unlike Lei or Xiaoyu and stuff like that. Anyone can do well with gimmicks with Bears, honestly, in my opinion. Anna, this is a character that some people didn't like me putting her in scrub mode, but I really don't care, honestly. I don't like this character at all. She also takes no execution. She has a lot of bullshit strings that, like Nina, like online, she's one of the best online characters. She's the queen of 50-50 mix-ups. Her Snake Edge is the best in the game. She has a dumb vortex, and Anna does not suck, people. I don't know why people say Anna sucks. They gave her a 15-frame launcher in Season 4. Don't know why she needed that, so I made her even better. Again, no execution. Just mix-ups all day. Yeah, fuck this character. And then you got Leroy and Fakaram. Fakaram, I think we all know he's scrub mode. No execution. Has literally everything. It did nerf his movement a little bit, but he shouldn't have had the good movement like he did. Yeah, fuck this character. And Leroy, same thing. Has literally everything you would want. No execution. These are pay-to-win characters right here. Of course, they're going to be in the scrub mode tier. I don't think that's too much of a surprise. But, yeah, guys, that is my updated tier list. I want to see how far this goes. My last Tekken difficulty tier list got like 4 or 5K views. So I want to thank y'all so much for that. I really appreciate that. I want to see if maybe I can get more with this one, you know, since it's updated. We'll see how many views we get on this. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I hope y'all understood where I was coming from. Leave a like and a comment. I really would appreciate that. And in the next tier list, we will be talking about the Soul Calibur difficulty tier list, which shouldn't take as long because there isn't as much characters as Tekken does. So, yeah, I'm done for now. Thank you all for stopping by. This is Falcon, and peace out, everybody.